Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games, and welcome to my Unplayed Games shelf. We are approaching the first anniversary of me creating this channel. And the first video I did, not counting the little kind of teaser trailer I did, the first video I did was a look at my Unplayed Games shelf. Specifically, at the beginning of that video, I, said, okay, this is the Unplayed Game shelf, and I'm bailing out on the challenge of trying to do the Unplayed Game shelf by the end of that year. And I gave some good reasons why. But my attempt to do that has continued to play that shelf. And it's just possible if I eliminate an entire category of games, or 2 or 3 categories of games, that I might be able to do it this year. So let's take a look at how I've made progress on my Unplayed Game shelf and what I've got ahead of us. My husband is Robert, and he and I are casual weekend board gamers. We play board games on weekends, and then I just sit around and chat about them. He doesn't appear on these videos. I am not a professional board game content maker. This is a little wobbly. I'm going to have to put this down. I'm not a professional board game content maker, and I don't aspire to be. This is just a bit of fun. I've got a mug of tea down here somewhere. Yeah, I'm going to have to get rid of this stack because here's my mug. And spilling would be okay because some of these games are still in shrink wrap. Yeah, it's that bad. Now I do unwrap games, punch and sort and all that kind of stuff when I get a game, but at the time I got some of these games, I didn't. So let's take a brief break and move all this stuff out of the way. Okay, now you can see me. Oh, so let's look at the numbers first. I have, as of right now, 14 unplayed games. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good number. But not all of those could be played at any given time. So I don't actually remember how many games I started off with at the beginning of 2022 when I set out to play my Unplayed Game shelf, or even how many I had left at the video that I did, the first video I did last September. But 14 is not a bad number. But that 14 includes stuff that is not going to get played between now and the end of the year. That really can't be played between now and the end of the year. And, well, not if I'm going to do anything else, because we usually just play games on the weekend. And by the way, hi to new subscribers. Thanks for joining us. I'm trying to hit that magic 100 number before I record next week's video for the 1 year anniversary. So now's the time to tell anybody about this quirky little channel if you ever had the desire to tell anybody about this quirky little channel. So anyhow, welcome. But yeah, most of you already know some of the stuff I'm saying about we only usually play games on weekends, but yeah, this is one of the reasons why in any given year, we're not going to be able to complete that Unplayed Game shelf if we include this game, Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, which I got in 2020 in the throes of the pandemic and the pre-vaccine era. It's like, doesn't quite take back to the before times, but basically it was in that first wave of game buying that we did when we first went into lockdown. So yeah, it was a little bit after that period of time, but we were still in that wave of, we could just play games here at home by ourselves kind of thing. And we got this. And it's still, you may notice from the shininess of this here, it's still in shrink wrap. So let's exclude Gloomhaven from the count because it's not reasonable to think that I would be able to get that done. Not on any given weekend with the number of weekends left in the year. And the other kind of long game is My City. Now, Robert and I don't like the entire concept of legacy games. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, then why did you get My City, a legacy game? Well, I had heard that, one, this is a good game, but one hears that a lot about all legacy games because a lot of people love them. But the second reason why I got it is because it has a forever game, a flip side of the board apparently that you can use to replay the game. And we like us some replayability. But that's not the only reason why we kind of go about legacy games, because the whole idea of permanently altering or damaging a game just gives Robert and I both the cold shudders. So I figured that we should try a legacy game, just not dismiss it out of hand because we think the entire concept is horrifying and kind of insane. But we should give them a try, a fair try. And I figured that if there was any chance that we might like a legacy game, that this would probably be our best shot at it, because we would still be able to play the game on the non-legacy side after we had finished the legacy part. So we're going to see how that goes. But the reason why I got it, and this is a fairly new purchase, I bought this in the week between Christmas and New Year's last year. It was half price. They were having, Barnes & Noble was having a half price sale on games and I think some other things in the week after Christmas. And so I got this because I thought, well, you know, brand new but half price. I'm probably never going to find the legacy game that is the only one I would ever want to maybe try for cheaper than that. So because I mean, you can't really buy legacy games used because they've been used. So I thought, yeah, this is a good thing. I'll go ahead and get it. And the plan for this was never to play this game this year. It was always basically just, it was a good price and I'm going to have it on hand for when we get ready to do that thing. So I'm going to exclude those from my possible doable sort of list. And then there's some of the others. This goes, yeah, I drop stuff on these videos and bang into things. I have not spilled my tea on any games, and that's kind of miraculous in itself. Okay, now we get down to the other games we are not going to be able to play this year. These are the category, see, those are long games that have multiple sessions, like a couple of dozen sessions each, and maybe more for Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. But these are games that take more than two people. I mean, you absolutely cannot play them with more than two people. And a couple of them I would categorize as party games. Like, for instance, Dinosaur Tea Party, which has wonderful artwork. I love the artwork on this. Let me see. It's kind of like that, but it's not showing the artwork. But I got this after watching the first all-day play session that Watch It Play did, not the one this year, but the one last year, because I thought the game looked like fun, and I can't get the lid off. I thought the game looked like fun, and I thought that I would play this with the family, because we sometimes have tea and stuff over at the families. It's a party game basically, but it's a lot of fun, and because I actually saw it played in the playthrough, and we haven't played it. We just haven't had one of those tea and scones family game day kind of things with the fam since I got it. So that's just going to kind of go begging for a little while longer. And we got Monstrosity, which is another party game. Michelle and Billy over at Second Star to the left really like this. And the concept of it seemed like it was something that you would like. Something, because you're describing like these aliens, like you're a witness to a crime and you're describing the alien, and you have to and people have to be able to figure out who done it from your description. So yeah, you don't have to actually be able to draw to do this. In fact, it's actually probably going to be more fun if you don't know how to draw. So that's a party game like Dinosaur Tea Party. It's going to need a minimum of 3 players, but we'll probably play better with more. And that just hasn't happened yet either. And then at Trading, and we got this, I think we got this last year. Robert went ahead and got the robots expansion for it. I'm not sure why, since we hadn't played it yet, but what the heck. Like me, he was pretty sure we were going to like it. I got this at our local game store's Trading Post Day back in the spring, in which vendors come in and sell used games. So I got, we picked up Forbidden Desert for $5 and Star Trek Catan for $25. And Catan was our gateway game, and we love Trek, original Trek actually, going way back. We are Trekkies from way back. And this was, Catan was the game that the family introduced us to modern board gaming, and the family also really loves Star Trek, or big Star Trek. They can kick our butt at Star Trek trivia, and that's really saying something. Hush, hush puppy, hush puppy. So we picked that up because that was just so cool finding it, because it's kind of out of print and rare now. So I was stunned to actually get it at a decent price. And Fedora Noir is this game. I'm not sure when we're going to play it or who we're going to play it with. This was a Kickstarter. Esme, hush, no. Little gamer dog throwing in her 2 cents. This was a game that I backed on Kickstarter. It is a storytelling game. It's got like the detective, the detective's partner, and the girl, and the detective's hat is actually a character in this. But here's the thing. You need exactly 4 people to play this game. And we have played games at 2, lots of games at 2, games at 3 even, and we've actually played some games at 5 and 7, though not the party games. We played Birds of a Feather with some people we just kind of ran into at the game store, because that's what I had with me. So yeah, we've never actually hit the magic number 4. And the other thing is, because this is sort of like the whole detective noir, like Raymond Chandler or Maltese Falcon or that kind of a thing, I mean, that's not a genre that everybody is really into or would be enthusiastic about a storytelling game. It's got lovely artwork, but I don't want to show too much of it because I'm trying not to look at this stuff because it's all spoilerific. You start with a start card and you just basically turn over cards. They're in the order that you need here to play the game. You just take out the deck and start going through it, and it walks you through gameplay with these 4 different roles, and they have a bunch of different mysteries and ways to solve them in this little box. So yeah, I was really excited about getting that game, and I would love to play it, but I just don't know with who. So these are the games that just cannot reasonably be played this year. But let me look at my notes. That leaves eight games that we could play on any given weekend this year, and there are 16 weekends left. So it's just possible that we could finish off all of the games that could reasonably be played with 2 players in a single sitting. I mean, that won't totally clear the decks in terms of the Unplayed Game shelf, but we just have to acknowledge that there are some games that are sort of not ideal for our usual game playing situation, and they're just going to wait until we get a group to play it. We have played games with a few other people. Actually, we did have the magic number 4 twice. One, we got together to play a specific game, and the other also kind of a specific game. So yeah, we need to set some things up. And plague numbers are rising, and that always makes it much easier. But there's a new vaccine coming out, so everything should be fine soon. Let me see. So that leaves 8 games. Let's just go through the games. But no, before I go through the 8 games that are remaining, you're probably wondering, okay, so how did you pare your unplayed game shelf down? Well, here's the thing. I just couldn't just force my way through the unplayed game shelf because we're still buying new games. And, you know, and it's like that whole grind of just saying we're going to play the shelf, we're going to play the shelf, we're going to play the shelf meant that there were some favorite games of ours that didn't get played last year or didn't get played very much last year because we were working on trying to whittle away the unplayed game shelf, and we were also getting new games in which went on to the unplayed game shelf. So here's the plan, and this is what I was implementing last year. And I made some progress on the unplayed game shelf last year, but it really took a couple of years for me to really see the difference. And that is, play the games as you get them. I mean, we don't usually do the haul of big stack of games. The only haul we did was last year between Christmas and New Year's when Barnes & Noble had that half price sale. And we bought a stack of games. And of that stack of games, the only one we haven't played is My City, and I had not intended to play that right away. Kind of saving it for multiple rainy days, I guess you might say. But so yeah, even with that coming right at the end of last year, that big chunk of games, we did pretty good. I mean, I don't just buy. And I'm not all about the hotness. Those of you who have been watching the channel for a while know I'm really not about the hotness. I mean, Star Trek Catan, for goodness sake, that game is really old, I think. And yeah, I mean, and I have talked about other games that are like classic old games. Last video, I talked about cribbage. And boy, wasn't playing cribbage so much fun. But we did it. And we both really like Labyrinth, the original like tile moving dungeon crawling game. It's kind of a kiddie game, but it's a lot of fun. And it's one of those that you can just pull out and play anytime. So, I mean, you will hear about games that are just really not hot, like very, very cold. But yeah, we played games as we got them. We have mostly managed to do this. I'm looking at this, and of the 8 games that remain to be played, only one of those is a game that we got this year that we haven't played. And I mean, technically, My City we got last year because it was before the beginning of the year. So that's one leftover from last year. Actually, we got Monstrosity. There's more than one leftover from last year, but those are kind of the bigger ones of, we might have gotten Brigands and Brown Coats last year. I'm not sure when we got that. It's still in shrink, so I'm thinking it was older than that. But yeah, I'm thinking the only game that we have not played yet that we got this year was an impulse purchase, again at half price. No, it was half price, but it was less than half price. It was an impulse purchase from Half Price Books, if I can get that out, and that is City of Iron. This is the first edition of Ryan Lockett's very first Arzium game. So It's been out of print for a while, so when I saw it, even though it wasn't the second edition, which I think from what I've read made some substantial changes to it, I wanted to get a look at it, and the price was right. I don't remember what it was now, but it was less than half price. It was pretty cheap. So I thought, I'll get it and try it. And I just want to get a look at it, maybe see if we like it enough to look up the second edition, if the second edition ever comes back into print. Because not only is first edition City of Iron out of print, second edition City of Iron is also out of print. But Ryan Locke is going to be running a reprint campaign on one of the crowdfunding sites. Oh gosh, I don't remember if it's GameFound or Kickstarter. I think it may be GameFound. In maybe starting this month. I think it's coming close. I think it was going to be a September launch, and so he's going to be reprinting some games, and I do not know if this will be one, but I want to get a look at it, see if maybe it's something I should get, because we do like some of the other games in the Arzium series. So that's one of the 8 games that we need to play this year. I'm rambling. I'm getting off track. I've got notes here. My notes are not helping me. But yeah, playing the games as you get them, just being really, really good and diligent about that is actually in some ways more important than trying to grind through that unplayed game shelf. Because what it really comes down to is if you play games as you get them and you try not to have too many games that don't get played as you get them, like City of Iron. I mean, I got this a few months ago. If it like sat around for 9 or 10 months or something like that and just kind of like rolled over into the whole unplayed games thing, that would not be good if you had a whole bunch of games that you're not playing as you get them. So they just add to the unplayed game shelf. But if you are really diligent about playing games as you get them, with very few games like My City or Fedora Noir, things that you really can't play right then, just keep those to a minimum and play games as you get them. Then the unplayed game shelf, you can whittle down. You know, just pull a game off the unplayed game shelf every now and then, and you're fine. Oh, I'm drinking tea. This is my Watch It Played mug, which I got from the Watch It Played store. And the tea today is Golden Monkey from Tea Runners. It's a nice kind of malty tea, strong black tea. I like Tea Runners. This is not a paid promotion or anything. I just really like their tea. I've been getting tea from them for many years now. And Golden Monkey is one of our favorites. We don't always have Golden Monkey on hand, but we do tend to drink Golden Monkey when we're playing New York Zoo, even though there are not any monkeys in that game. Yeah, play the games as you get them. And then just kind of throw favorite games off of your shelf into the mix and throw in an occasional game off of your unplayed game shelf. The trick is not to grow the shelf, you know? By playing games as you get them, then you can, and see, we don't tend to buy, like I said, bunches of games at one time, and we haven't ever been to a game convention, so there's none of that, like, I went to a convention and came back with 20 games thing. That's not, that's not a thing with us. So, I mean, occasionally there will be a thing where we'll buy a couple of games at one time, but that's not too bad, or like a stack between Christmas and New Year's because they were all on sale or something. But, we had some time between Christmas and New Year's, some time off in which we could play some of those. So that seemed reasonable. Okay, City of Iron is one of the 8 that we hope to get played before the end of the year. Wingspan. Yeah, we have made a few attempts at Wingspan and just have not gotten the hang of it. I tried to learn it from the tutorial because I got the game on Steam, and I couldn't pick it up from the tutorial, and I tried playing it on BGA with other people who knew how to play, and I kind of got the hang of the actions because it would give me prompts to do this or that, but I never really got a good sense of what I was doing or a strong strategy. I just knew that I was supposed to do things. and I did the things. But I didn't really understand what I was doing. I just kind of got into a rhythm, and it's not in shrink, though we've had it for a very, very long time. Because I've cracked it open and spread it out and looked at it and tried and read the book and tried to go through the game and tried to learn it from the book. And I think there may be a watch it play video on this that I've looked at before, and we still have not gotten the hang of it. And furthermore, I recently met somebody at a game thing who knew how to play Wingspan. But all of the people we know, I do know a few people who have played Wingspan, and I said, good, can you teach me? And they're going like, yeah, no, I don't really know enough to teach. Most of the people I know who played Wingspan was like not a great experience, not something they ever want to repeat. They're going like, yeah, we did it. We got through a game. We figured it out. Somebody walked us through it, and we have played Wingspan because somebody held our hand through the entire game, and we managed to get through a game. Everybody I know in real life have universally just no love for Wingspan and like find it like just infuriatingly difficult to learn and to play. So yeah, so I'm not getting a lot of help and support from IRL friends for learning how to play this game. It's like online, everybody thinks this is the greatest game ever made, and it's wonderful, and I cannot understand why anybody can't play it. And I have even heard a lot of people refer to this as a gateway game. And listen, I actually know some non-gamers who like birds and like tried to do Wingspan, and they couldn't figure it out at all. I mean, they're just going like, this is horrible. If this is a game, really? Seriously? People actually can do this? Not a gateway game. Really, seriously, a non-gamer is going to bounce off of this because every non-gamer I know bounces off of it. I'm a gamer. Not a very good gamer. I never said I was good, and I just bounced off of it. Same thing with Robert. But we are going to continue to just peck away at it until eventually we can say, like all of the other people I know in real life, yeah, we did Wingspan. We got all the way through a game of Wingspan with like minimal errors in gameplay, and we've done it, but we don't know it or like it enough to ever teach it to another human being. My God, who would do that? So yeah, this is going to be actually probably the toughest game in the stack of 8. City of Iron, we could probably do. I've looked over the book. I've looked over some videos. I think I've got a good grip on it. Wingspan is going to be tough. I should mention this. Tall Card is one of the 8. And I am not sure if we're going to be able to get this. This is actually out of print now, I think. This is the game that they played in the TV show of Firefly. Yes, I'm that big of a fan. The one with the plums and the cards and they're betting for chores and stuff like that. It looks to me, and I went over this with my brother-in-law who does play poker, it looks a lot like poker, and the play is a lot like poker, except it's got multiple decks. So the whole multiple decks thing adds a level of complexity that we just kind of were like looking at it. And so this is going to take a little bit of thinking. This might top out Wingspan for things that doesn't quite make it this year, but we're going to make another run at it. Because I've opened the box, I've gotten it all out, and I've gone over it with people, and I'm just going like, ooh. Tiny Epic Dungeons. This was the first Kickstarter I ever got. Yeah, you can see the lid lift there. Once you open it up, you're not going to be able to get everything in there. And I got the Boss Meeples too, and they definitely don't fit. The Dized app has a tutorial for this, so we're going to use that to give this a walkthrough. So I feel like we'll probably be able to get this played in the rest of the week. Mariposas I got, and you might think, well, if you haven't made Wingspan, why did you get Mariposas? As you can tell, it's shiny. It's still in shrink. I got Mariposas years ago when I first started getting into board game thingies. I had a board game like a board game club that would send out games, and you got your choice of 3 games, and this was the best choice of the 3 that they offered that month. And I knew Wingspan was supposed to be good, even though we hadn't been able to play it. And I liked the butterfly theme, and it was the best choice of the 3, so I got Mariposas. Yeah, I probably should not stack that any higher. We'll put this over here. So, City of Iron, Wingspan, Tiny Epic Dungeons, Tall Card, Mariposas. Yeah, see, and we're deep into the games in shrink wrap now, the older stuff. Fields of Arl. I like Uwe Rosenberg games. Though, admittedly, we mostly play as polyomino games. This past weekend, we played Rekult, which was a really simple farming game. I'll talk about it on another video. But I've read about this, and this is supposed to be a really good game. It's a 2-player game, so that's right in our wheelhouse. But we haven't done any of his heavier farming games. We've not played Agricola or anything like that. But I don't know, it being a 2-player game and people talking about what a great game it is, and I think he himself has said like this game like has a special place in his heart or something, and it's hard to find, so I decided to get it and the, and there I go, about to stack that again, and the Tea and Trade expansion for it, because I don't know how long, it's not like a super popular game, so I don't know how long it's going to stay in print. So that was my thinking way back when I got that, which was a few years ago. Firefly Adventures, Brigands and Browncoats. My interest in this is mostly because I love Firefly the game, favorite game. But this is co-op, and you play as people. I mean, they've even got minis, it looks like, in here. But you play as people in the show, in the world. So I wanted to give it a try because Robert and I, we really like Firefly, and we like co-op a lot. We're really good at co-op games. So yeah, we wanted to give that a try. It seemed like that both thematically and being co-op, that it would be a good fit for us, but nevertheless, having gotten it and having loved Firefly, we still haven't cracked the box. We haven't even cracked the shrink on it. I'm not sure I can pick this up. Hang on. And you can't see it for the, can't see the forest for the trees, can't see the games for the games. Yeah, Tang Garden, still in shrink. I don't even know how many years ago I got this, but I was just suckered in by the beautiful table presence and the beautiful aesthetic, and gameplay seemed kind of interesting and not the usual sort of thing, so I kind of wanted to give this a try. I just kind of think it's going to be spectacular, but look, see, still in shrink, never hit the table. And that's the 8. That's the 8 that if we play them between now and the end of the year, we will have cleared the unplayed game shelf of everything that can be played in a single sitting by 2 players. Tang Garden, City of Iron, Wingspan, Tiny Epic Dungeons, Tall Card, Firefly Adventures, Brigands and Browncoats, Fields of Arl, Mariposas. So, it's possible. It is now doable by simply playing games as we get them. And for the most part, like I said, there's like every year it seems like there's one game that slips through the cracks that doesn't get played. But playing games as we get them, and playing old favorites, and then playing a game here or there off of the unplayed game shelf, just shuffling those into the mix. I mean, if you play games off the unplayed game shelf, even if you don't play a whole lot of games off the unplayed game shelf, as long as you're not adding games to that shelf, then you're gonna play all the games eventually. You're going to whittle them down, or at least, as in the case with me, whittle them down to a reasonable number. And I know it doesn't look reasonable when I've got them all stacked up here on the table, because we play a lot of small box games and a lot of fast, quick games, because it's kind of a get them in where you can fit them in sort of thing, as Dwayne over at Blackboard Gaming would say. But I mean, so that kind of leaves the big, longer games, because a lot of times on weekends, we maybe don't have time to sit down and play something that might be kind of long, you know, so we'll play something shorter and then do whatever else that we're going to be doing. So that kind of leaves some of the big chunky games for later. Although I don't know that the gameplay on all of these is going to be particularly chunky. It may just be that the boxes are chunky. But I think a lot of these are doable. I am uncertain if we will get through Wingspan, and I am uncertain if we'll get through Tall Card, because it just seems unusually complicated for a poker-like game with multiple decks. So yeah, that's going to be kind of interesting. But yeah, I think that we could possibly do it. Because we've got more weeks left in the year than there are games. But it helps that I haven't bought huge numbers of games this year. That's made keeping up with the games coming in a lot easier. I tend to buy games if I have some kind of a qualm that they're not popular enough to stay in print and they may become hard to find. I'll go ahead and get them. If something is popular, I'm just going to let it ride for a while, because I know it's not going to get away from me. So this is why I may talk about popular games, but when it's no longer at the height of its popularity. But let me see. Oh yeah, I haven't done very many Kickstarters this year. And right now, you know, some people going like, well, you know, I mean, I've got a hold on the Unplayed Game shelf, but I've got a whole bunch of Kickstarters that delivered and that kind of blew it all up. But most of the crowdfunding stuff that I'm doing these days is picking up expansions. And expansions are a problem. You know, I'm talking about how I'm whittling this down to something reasonable. Yeah, the whole expansion thing is not reasonable. I mean, next year, I think that our goal should probably be not so much working on the Unplayed Game shelf, just keep playing games as we get them and that kind of thing, and maybe whittle down some of these games that need more than 2 players. But next year is going to be the year of the expansions, because I have 34 unplayed expansions. 34. Now, 15 of those are button shy expansions, so we could reasonably knock those off in a single weekend if we just sat down and did it, because 15 are all of the little mini expansions, 1 and 2 card expansions or whatever for the Opolis series, Sprawlopolis, Natureopolis, Agropolis, and I mean the expansions include the 3 Combopolis things that combine various ones of them. So yeah, so a dozen of the 34 are button shy, so that makes the number seem slightly better maybe. But I mean, I've got 3 expansions outstanding in 2 crowdfunding campaigns, 1 on Kickstarter and 1 on GameFound. So right now, the only crowdfunding that I have that's outstanding is I've got a couple of expansions that are going to come in probably October, I'm thinking, and then I've got 1 that's going to come in early next year. So yeah, expansions are a problem. Besides the Opolis, I've also got 6 expansions or mini expansions for Tiny Epic games. So yeah, so let's see, I said 15 on the Opolis series, 6 Tiny Epic expansions. I've got 3 Firefly expansions that I haven't played yet. We haven't rolled in, because we're rolling them in 1 at a time, or in the case of the ships, 2 at a time, like Chetwash and Esmeralda. But we want to see how each of them plays, like you know, like getting them, because we don't want to just like put all the expansions in at one time, because then that's too much of a learning curve. And the game only hits the table about once a year because it is so big and so long. The recent game we played lasted 5 hours. So yeah. So we haven't played Pirates and Bounty Hunters. We haven't played Crime and Punishment, and we haven't played with the Artful Dodger ship yet. So those are the 3 Firefly expansions that we haven't played with. So if you add the 15 Opolis series games expansions and the 6 Tiny Epic expansions or mini expansions, and then add in the 3 Firefly, that's 24 of the 34. But because Firefly hits the table so infrequently, it's going to be a long time before we knock off those, because it's like it's kind of a once a year thing. So we're looking 3 years in the future, maybe. I don't know. We could probably roll Artful Dodger in with one of the other expansions, but yeah. And there's an expansion with the new anniversary thing, which I am backing for the expansion, the upgrade material. So yeah, we're doing really well on those unplayed games, not so well on unplayed expansions. So I mean, even if you knock off those that are like lumped in those series that I just mentioned, that still leaves 10 expansions for various other games that we haven't played. And that's not counting 2 more coming in October. So yeah, getting control of the expansions is going to be a little bit of a problem, because if I like a game, I'm going to want the expansions for it. At least I think I will. I don't know. I think I need to maybe rethink my expansion buying habits a little bit, kind of, you know. But let me see. I think I've covered everything I made notes for here. I'm really happy that y'all joined me around the table. And talk to me about your unplayed game shelf and how you manage it, or what hindrances you have to managing it. We've managed to keep up with playing games as they came in for the past couple of years now. Like we did it like all of 2022 and up to now in 2023. And I think we've had like 1 game carry over each year that we bought that we didn't play. So that's not too bad. And now we've whittled it down to 8 that we could potentially get done before the end of the year, not counting big stacko games that need more people, or in the case of legacy campaign games, more time. And yeah, I'm not getting any more legacy or campaign games because time. I mean, that's really a huge factor in playing these things, because we only play on the weekends. And I mean, you really need to block off some time during the week if you're going to be doing games that have multiple sessions. You need to be able to be at a point where you're willing to commit X number of weeknights to just doing the game as well as the weekends. And we have done a campaign game. We played Sleeping Gods, and we played it on weekends, Saturdays and Sundays both. So that was like 2 sessions, 2 sessions each weekend, and then we played 2 or 3 times during the week until we finished the game. But that game was extremely compelling in terms of the story and the gameplay. So it kept us very, very engaged. I have no idea how engaging My City or Jaws of the Lion will be. I won't know until I get into it. It could be that we will crack open the boxes and we will want to play every single night, in which case they won't take very long. But I'm kind of thinking that's probably not going to be the case, because it's just not our usual habit. Like I say, we kind of gotta brace ourselves for doing these things during like weeknights, taking up weeknights as well as weekends, and I'm not sure when we're going to get around to playing those. Those 2 games may be around for a while. The other games that just take more people, the 4-player game and the 2-party games, those are possible. They're possible. But it's one of those kind of things where you can't say I'm going to play that this weekend, because you just don't know when you'll be able to have the right bunch of people to play them. Because I kind of think that some people are just not going to be down with monstrosity because of the drawing thing, even though drawing is really not an element. It has more to do with your observation skills. Or Dinosaur Tea Party, or I pulled that out. I've taken that to the family a couple of times and nobody's really interested. And like I said, we haven't had a long game day when we might, you know, do that and snack on tea and scones or something. And I just don't know. Fedora Noir, I kind of think I need the right group of people to play a noir storytelling game. Not everybody's going to be down for a storytelling game, much less a noir one. But I think I've got it under control. I just got to not buy too many games until I finish up this stack, which is actually a pretty big stack because they're very big boxes. Enjoyed chatting with you around the table. Drop me some comments. I love chatting with people in comments. Talk to me about what's on your unplayed game shelf and what you think is going to be the hardest to get off of your unplayed game shelf, or what you should be playing but you just like, I don't know. Because everybody's got unplayed games. And if you just keep taking some off the shelf and playing them, you can winnow that unplayed game shelf down. But I've had a good time. I hope you have too. Next week, 1-year anniversary video. That should be interesting. I don't think I'm going to make 100 subscribers, but that's okay. I'm just glad y'all are all here. It's been fun. See you next time.